So, Bradman was gone. Was there now a chink of light for English hopes?
I doubt whether many people at Sydney for the third and vital test anticipated an innings victory for Australia.
The 1951 series suggested not. Compton was out of form, and the bowling attack depended too much on Bedser, who, although in magnificent form himself, couldn't carry the fight alone.
It went well for the tourists at first, both Hutton and Washbrook being apparently in form.
Australia had the extravagant all-rounder Miller playing brilliantly with bat and ball. And that enigmatic spinner, Jack Iverson, whose deliveries were almost impossible to pick, was running through the English batting line-up like a dose of salts. In Sydney at the third test, the Ashes were lost once more.
Simpson held the fort for some time, playing a stubborn game. Iverson took no wickets in this innings, but he got 6 for 27 in the second. Indeed, he was largely responsible for Australia's retention of the Ashes. Nice work on the eve of retiring from Test cricket. Hutton got a great ovation at his half-century. But at 62, he was dismissed by Miller. Much was expected from Compton. Everyone looked for runs from him, but it was just one of those things, a duck to be precise. Simpson was another of Miller's victims when he'd made 49. Brown was the hero of the innings with a fine knock of 79, though it was all in vain, what with injuries and batting failures. But he certainly deserved the applause he received.
The Australian winning sequence, which stretched back to 1934, was nearly at an end. The signs were there when a strong South African side went to Australia and won early in 1953.
Scoring their second ever victory over the Aussies, their first win being 42 years ago. Much of the triumph was due to off-spinner Tayfield, seen here in action at Sydney. Tayfield took 7 for 81 in the second innings, 13 for 165 in the match. Pretty work indeed. Endine left and McGlew did good work for South Africa with the bat. Endine's 162 not out was a great knock. And opener McGlew started off with a sterling 46. Congratulations are certainly due to the South African captain Cheetham, who led his team to Test victory. Incidentally, their first win of the tour in a first-class match. Some 30,000 were there when Hutton spun the coin and Hassett called correctly. This was bad luck for England, who had to take the field. Sir Donald Bradman was present, but strictly in the role of critic today. The Australian skipper, accompanied by left-hander Morris, came out to face the onslaught of the formidable Bedser.
Lindsay Hassett was a much-loved captain, but his feats of batsmanship were cancelled out by England's own Len Hutton.
Now Statham at full speed. Hassett scores to leg, and England's former captain Brown fields the ball. Runs were coming along all right when Hutton and Brown had a conference on tactics, and Brown took a turn from the nursery end.
Ray Lindwall's fierce pace was matched by the often unplayable fast-medium deliveries of Alec Bedser.
They saw Morris beautifully stumped by Evans for 30. Harvey followed him at the wicket with the score 1 for 65. Bedser got him LBW later when he'd scored 59. Next, that great all-rounder Miller, who stayed to make 25 and to see his captain pass the 100. And then, bad luck for Hassett, a leg strain, soon afterwards forced him to retire for the time being. And my hat, was it hot out there. A little refreshment now and then was most welcome. Spectators, too, seemed to feel the heat. We're none of us quite used to it this year so far. Wardle had a most successful spell of bowling. He had hole caught for 13, and he kept up the good work presently getting Benaud LBW. Then he got another wicket before the end of the day, no less a man than Miller. Cricket fans present in full force next day saw Hassett take up his innings again. But after adding 3 to his score, he was out off Bedser caught Bailey. Lindwall gave Hutton a sharp one close in. And presently Statham dismissed the Australian fast bowler, clean bowled for 9. Bad luck seemed to be dogging Hutton. First he got a nasty crack on the elbow, later damaged the thumb and had to leave the field. Now Brown took over the captaincy. Full marks go to Davidson for his knock of 76, and Langley was nicely caught by Watson off Bedser. The Australians finished up with a total of 346.
Once again, there was little to choose between the two sides. And once again, it was a rain-affected series which came down to the final match at the Oval.
Being a 6-day affair meant that your really keen cricket fan got to the Oval early and came well equipped to stay there to the very end. Queues, in fact, soon formed and various methods were adopted for passing the time until the gates were open. When Hassett won the toss again, he equalled Sir Stanley Jackson's 1905 record of winning all 5 in the series. England had to take the field, of course, a serious disadvantage in this crucial match. Edridge, too, played a sterling innings. But with his score at 37, May was out to a fine catch by Davidson. "44 more runs to get now, and Compton as Edridge's partner." Bedser opened the attack, which for the first time in these tests included Freddie Truman expresses. But once again, it was Bedser who got Morris out after he'd made 16. Then Bailey got a very useful wicket, that great batsman Miller being LBW for only 1 run. England was certainly making a good start. Presently, the Australian captain was sent back just after passing his half-century. Harvey stayed to reach 36 before being caught by Hutton off Truman. Godfrey Evans was in fine form, one of his 4 catches behind the sticks accounting for De Courcy. Hole was another of his dismissals off Truman's bowling. Alec Bedser got his 39th wicket of the series, beating Maurice Tate's long-standing record when he dismissed Archer. But alas for England, Lindwall came to Australia's rescue. Passing his 50, he went on to make 62, and the Aussies eventually reached a first innings total of 275. Well, it might have been better and it might have been worse. Lindwall did his best to get Hutton out. But the English skipper only lost his cap, not his wicket, before an appeal against the light was upheld and the first day's cricket ended. When the Australians came out to field on what proved to be the last day of the final test, the Oval was crowded with spectators hoping to see May and Edridge stay.
In the second innings, England were chasing 132. Australia set aggressive fields and fought all the way.
May indeed was in first-class form.
Edridge, Hutton, May and Compton struggled for 3.5 hours, eventually winning the match by 8 wickets.
The score mounted. It was by no means going. The Aussies certainly weren't handing those ashes back on a plate after 20 years. Then, near the end, Hassett put himself on to bowl. Morris bowled from the other end, and here it comes. A 4 by Compton wins the match, the rubber, and the ashes. As the crowds poured onto the ground, police had a hard job in keeping them off the wicket itself.
15,000 spectators ran to the pavilion to celebrate the first Ashes victory for 20 years, and to at least pretend to commiserate with the popular Hassett and his team.
Edrich and the other cricketers on the field had an even harder job getting back to the pavilion. It certainly was a big moment in cricket history. The crowd shouted for Len Hutton, and with members of his team he appeared on a balcony. Then Hassett joined them and pretended to throw down his blazer. Speeches were called for, and first Hutton obliged.
I must say how happy and thrilled I feel about it all today. And to happen here at the Oval, which of course has always been a very happy hunting ground for me, but I feel a little bit sorry. I feel a little bit sorry for my friend Lindsay Hassett, who has had a very hard time this season, and what a wonderful opposition captain he has been to play against.
Then it was Lindsay Hassett's turn.
I would just like to offer my congratulations to Len and to all of the English team. There's no doubt about this victory. They earned it right from the very first ball to the second last over anyway. We'll be waiting for you in Australia in a couple of years' time. And I hope anyway, when whoever wins out there, that the cricket will be just as enjoyable and the result just as close as this series. Thank you very much.
It was indeed a famous English victory. Here are the men who won it, not forgetting the ashes they got back.
The applause continued for weeks afterwards, and it was seen as another jewel in the crown of a nation who were enthusiastically celebrating the coronation of a new queen.
When it came to Len's turn to speak, he said it was easier to address the people of his hometown than to face Lindwall and Miller at the wicket. It was obviously a very happy occasion.
Len Hutton was now convinced that to hold on to the ashes in Australia, he would need pace, and he found it in the fearsome form of Frank Typhoon Tyson.
Movietone's cameras focus on Frank Tyson, the strong right arm of England's victory at Melbourne. Taking 7 wickets for 27 runs, he recorded the best analysis of any fast bowler in a match between England and Australia. This triumphant achievement was due largely to a decision to cut down his run, thereby giving greater accuracy. Anyway, it seems that the selectors were right for once.
To no one's particular surprise, 1956 was another wet summer, but this suited the spin twins, Locke and Laker. In fact, 1956 would be Laker's finest year. It began when he took 10 wickets in an innings against the Australians for his county, Surrey. The press called it a collector's item never to be seen again, as Australia crashed their first defeat to a county side since before the First World War. But Laker would do it again, and this time in a test match.
Archer stumped Evans for 6. The end was clearly in sight. Now it's Laker to Johnson, clean bowled for a duck. Well, there it was, 84 all out. But they followed on to make 53 for 1 before the heavens opened, swamping the much-maligned turf at Old Trafford, while Australia tried to figure out what caused one of the worst collapses ever seen in Test cricket. But before the magic hands of Jim Laker finished them off, MacDonald made his splendid stand, confidently defying the Surrey off-spinner. His total of 89 was the most memorable feature of the innings. Now Laker to Archer, and he's caught Oakman for a duck. What a massacre. Laker had so far taken all 9 wickets in the second innings. And here's the 10th, Laker to Maddox, and he's LBW. By taking all 10 wickets of the innings, Jim Laker has set a Test record, and he's the first bowler to take the phenomenal Test total of 19 wickets. With England's victory by an innings and 170 runs, the first decisive result at Old Trafford for 51 years, England retained the Ashes, and Jim Laker's triumph is complete.
But this marked the end of English success. Firstly under the tactically astute all-rounder Richie Benaud, and then later Bobby Simpson and Bill Lawry, the Australians remained unbeaten during the 1960s.
Early summer sunshine in Perth and a chance for the English tourists to get acclimatised. Alex Bedser was there to watch, so was famous old-timer Duckworth, bowler Bill Bowes, all-rounder Keith Miller, and the incomparable Sir Donald Bradman. Peter May, in spite of injury, was in his usual form. he went on to make 113. Now Truman in action. A bumper, and O'Neill takes evasive action. Truman again, and the young Australian takes an easy run off him. Laker also had a bit of a duel with O'Neill, who, according to some critics, displays the quality of a Bradman. Certainly, he's already a hero to the hero worshippers, especially after his brilliant century at Perth.
Most important is Richie Benaud. As a captain and tactician, he's ahead of England's Dexter. He's an attacking batsman, while the pace and bounce of Australian wickets make his leg breaks more dangerous than ever. In Sydney, he shattered our batsmen.
At Old Trafford in 1961, all of Richie's virtues were given full expression as he engineered an unlikely victory to snatch the series.
Over extra cover. Beautiful hit with the spin. Well wide of Fuller there.
Yes, now that is a great shot, Jim. You very seldom see a 6 over extra cover.
Davidson 42. And now Australia are 200 runs on. And there's 305 minutes left to play. And he hits that one very hard indeed for 4 runs. Between the bowler and long off. He's a fine bat, this chap. And that brings Davidson to 46. He doesn't take a single for that. 2 to go. I don't think he worries so much about Mackenzie at that far end, but I see that the offside field is coming all in now to save 1, but they may not save 4. And there it is. Davidson's 50. What a fine innings. Last ball. He hits that high for 6. What a fine piece of play. Over there, long off. It's an interesting point, of course, that all the work this morning, or 3/4 of it, has been done by Davidson with a suspect thigh, is it? Or side. Made 77 runs. The chief Australian bowler. He's clean bowled him. Flavel bowls Mackenzie. And now we know exactly what the proposition is. Flavel. Mackenzie bowled Flavel 32. Davidson not out, 77.
So thanks to that magnificent last wicket partnership of 98, England's target was 256 to win in a little under 4 hours. In spite of the loss of Puller, caught by O'Neill off Davidson for 26, England by mid-afternoon seemed to be coasting to victory. They had more than 100 on the board, and Dexter was in full flow.
That's gone through, and that is 50.
Benaud tried the high-risk strategy of bowling around the wicket to the right-handers. It worked as well as he could have hoped. In 9 overs, he captured 6 for 22, when England were looking odds-on through the cavalier batting of Ted Dexter to reach the target set for them of 256.
He's caught behind the wicket. Dexter caught behind by Grout off Benaud for 76. Benaud bowling round the wicket may possibly be a little bit difficult to get away. He's bowled May behind his legs, has he? Yes, he's out. Bowled behind his legs. And the picture changes with a vengeance. No, words fail me. Doesn't seem any sort of reason for this sort of approach at all. You've only got to get just over a run a minute. Now he's hit him for 6. And he's caught behind square leg. It's almost inevitable. He's clean bowled. Summerrow bowled.
Yes, he's caught by Simpson at slip. Murray caught Simpson, bowled Benaud. Benaud's now taken 5 for 53. 5 for 53. Yes, he's out, LBW. Barrington out, LBW, bowled Mackay for 5, and this is now 171 for 7. Oh, magnificent catch by Simpson. What a fine catch. So that's Allen out, caught Simpson, bowled Benaud for 10. Oh, he's caught in the slip, caught by Benaud in the slips. Truman caught Benaud, bowled Simpson for 8, and England now 193 for 9. And I don't think this new ball will be needed, or not for very long. Clean bowled! Australia have won, and they've kept the Ashes. They've won by 54 runs. Congratulations to Australia, to Richie Benaud and his men. A really surprising victory after the turn of fortunes today. I don't think anyone would have backed them.
The Australians managed the victory by 54 runs with just 20 minutes to spare. When he returned to the dressing room, Norm O'Neill filled the bath and said to his captain, "Go on, dive in. With your luck, you probably won't even get wet." They won the series 2-1.
I shan't be touring again, and that's something that makes me very sorry, because cricketers are a part of my life, and I shall be very disappointed to have to give them up.
Well, you'll be available maybe for selection as cricket commentator.
Before the MCC team left for Australia, we asked skipper Ted Dexter a few questions. First of all, Ted, what about this Australian criticism that you've got too many strippers, too many fast bowlers who polish the ball on their shirts?
Yes, that's the first time I knew what a stropper was, actually. No, I think fast bowlers have always done well in Australia, and you've got to have enough on this type of trip. People can get injured, and you've got to have your reserves with you.
I see someone suggested that it doesn't do any good anyway. What do you think about that?
Well, he doesn't know much about it, if that's the way he thinks. No, it helps the fast bowler keep a ball in good shape.
Another thing, Ted, why are you going by air this time instead of going by sea, as the teams have always done in the past?
Really, it's just a domestic matter. It gives people another week at home, so that instead of having a nice sort of week's rest on the boat, they can have it with their wives and families at home, perhaps take them away on a holiday.
The Duke of Norfolk is managing the team. There's Colin Cowdrey, and another bat, Ken Barrington, with his wife seeing him off. Barry Knight may be the 17th man of the party, but he's still #1 with Mrs. Knight. Looking after players who may not appear in the tests is one of Dexter's chief concerns. Exciting cricket is his principal aim. His team's average age is 28. But the England 11 know very well that the Australians are a hard bunch to crack, especially on their home ground. Easy to tell it's the test season, Only hope the brollies at Nottingham aren't an omen for the months to come. After a delay due to early morning drizzle, Australia take the field. Hallowed ground, particularly since this part was relayed with soil from Eton. Titmus and Boycott open for England.
There were individual highlights for England during this period.
This is Boycott's first test. Here he faces Mackenzie. Australia's top fast bowler again to Titmus. Calling to Titmus. Cowdrey and Truman watching as Mackenzie is hit by Titmus for 4. Titmus is laying about him with a will. After Hawke relieved calling, things began to warm up. Hawke to Titmus. Hawke to Boycott, who calls. Titmus runs and runs straight into Hawke. Wicketkeeper Grout merely waves the ball over the bails. Sportsmanship is still alive. And Titmus is still safe, but not for long. Hawke was to get him later in the same over. Here's the ball. Caught by Redpath for 16. The only wicket during the 90 minutes of cricket on the first day. Disappointing for the crowd of 18,000 and for cricket's royal patron, Prince Philip. Now it's Dexter in, Mackenzie bowling. Dexter's captaining England for the 26th time. Hawke to Dexter. But he was to stay safely through the first day, likewise Boycott. Then down it came again. On go the covers, up go the umbrellas. Getting monotonous, isn't it?
And as far as spin or pace is concerned, Ted Dexter, so far as we're concerned, in a minority of 1 on this issue, Dennis, rather as the selectors seem to be in a minority of 5 about playing Graveney in the test team.
Yes, agreed. I think probably you're absolutely right on the minority of 5.
Oh,
dear.
Oh, Dexter got the answer. And Truman.
Well, we're all very pleased for Fred there. I must say it wasn't a very good shot.
The greatest of all achievements, at least in the eyes of the venerable correspondent Jim Swanton, was the 300th wicket in Test cricket for Freddie Truman, which he gathered at the Oval in 1964.
Anyway, that brings Fred Truman 298 wickets. Now,
so our Fred will have his tail up now, perhaps. Oh, he's out, caught by Cowdrey! And he's done a hat-trick. 299. Oh, what about that to speed above it? Well bowled Fred. 299.
Hawke 14, facing Truman.
That's it, he's on! Truman's got it, 300 test wickets.
And the batsman the first to applaud him. And he's just patrolling the crowd. Well, what a great moment, and he's hugging Cowdrey, who caught the catch. Well caught, Colin. Well, this is a great moment of cricket history you're seeing now. Jeff Boycott hugging his Yorkshire friend.
It took 13 years, 65 matches, and nearly 15,000 deliveries.
Whether anyone going now will see this happen again. Another chap in his 65th test taking 300 wickets.
And may we wonder whether they would have found quite so many volunteer assistants if the positions of England and Australia had been reversed? Thanks to the mass effort, Play could start at 4:45, an hour and a quarter left, when Australia had no chance of scoring 266, and England wanted 5 more wickets.
I think Colin Cowdery has tried every possible permutation of the bowlers in the last 35 minutes, and the wicket has proven to be the winner. There's little help for anybody at the moment.
He's out. Well, there we are. There's the first wicket. D'Oliveira has got it. An involuntary sort of shot from Jarman. Seemed to me he was withdrawing his bat too late. Now Underwood at this end to bowl to Mallet. Who batted for 3 hours in the first Australian innings. He's out. Caught by Brown, and that one lifted. Brown delighted, not a difficult catch. 10 men round the bat. Doesn't matter about the 4s or 6s, runs don't matter at all. Ooh, he's out. Is he caught? Look at Brown, look at Dave Brown, he's gone, and that was a better catch. More difficult because he had to go right low for it. Oh, what a day is Dave Brown having.
Coming in round the wicket this time, Underwood. And he got him, bowled him, off stump, knocked out of the ground. And Australia are 120 for 9 with just 1 wicket to go and 10 minutes and a half left.
Underwood took the last of his 7 wickets with 5 minutes to spare.
Appeal, he's out! He's out, WW! England have won, and the series is drawn.